Every day means every day, episode number 8. And in this video, I'm going to show you specifically, step by step, how the everyday means everyday mentality took me from a kid who was scared, anxious, insecure, unconfident, literally to the point of panic attacks. And by the way, when I say panic attacks, I don't mean sweaty palms and weak knees. I mean panic attacks that were so severe that at least twice I was in a social scenario and I was overcome by a level of fear that was so all-consuming, it actually triggered a seizure and I lost complete control over my motor functions entirely. That's the level of fear that I'm telling you about, okay? That's who I was. I went from that to being a person who is confidently able to stand on stage and deliver a keynote speaking address in front of an audience of 1,500 people, okay? This is not a video about public speaking. This is not a video about speaking from stage or building your personal brand. I talk about that stuff elsewhere, but this video is about the mentality. It's about the steps that I took to go from somebody who was weak, who was small, who was terrified of everything, to somebody who was genuinely confident and felt like he was the person who was able, capable, and worthy of being on that stage and confidently commanding that audience of 1,500 people. And by the way, doing hundreds of other speaking engagements after that moment. That was a few years ago at this point. So B, what happened? What did you do? And how did the everyday means everyday mentality help you make that transformation? And I'm making this video because, quite frankly, I know there's so many people that are out there that are blessed, that are gifted, that are talented. You want to be speakers, you want to be YouTubers, or maybe you have a completely different goal for your life. Maybe you just want to be somebody that you're proud of internally. Maybe you want to be somebody that you can look in the eye in the mirror and know that you know what you're made of. Know that you're confident. Know that you had the guts to overcome whatever that limiting thing is for you. Maybe for you, it's not public speaking. Maybe for you, it's conflict with other people. Maybe for you, it's discipline and routine. I don't know what it is for you, but there's something inside of you that you would admire you more. You would respect you more. You would be proud of you more if you were able to overcome that. So for me, it was social anxiety. Whatever it is for you, number one, I want you to write it down. Write it down at the top of the video right now. Just write it down. What is that enemy that we're going to attack? You got to be able to face it head on. You got to be able to define it. All right. I want you to write that enemy down. What's that thing that you need to overcome for you? What's that thing that you need to overcome? Okay. Here's the steps that I took and how everyday means everyday helped me take those steps. Number one, I got a mentor. Okay. For those of you who know my story, straight out of college, I did an unpaid internship with a guy named Dr. Eric Thomas, E.T. the hip hop preacher, probably the number one motivational speaker, in my opinion, to ever do it. Okay. He's been on top of the game for the last 2 decades now. And I got an internship with him with no aspirations of being on stage. I told you I was a socially anxious introvert. So speaking was the last thing that I wanted to do. So it wasn't about that. I just liked the fact that I found somebody who was A, making a ton of money, balling out, and B, seemed like he was genuinely making a positive impact on other people's lives. I'd never seen both of those qualities in the same person before. I said, you know what? This is somebody that I want to learn from. I approached him about working for him. He gave me an unpaid internship. I worked my butt off until that turned into a full-time job. Eventually, that full-time job turned into becoming his agent. That turned into me spinning off my own speaking and coaching career, my own marketing agency, like all sorts of things were going on, just because I was willing to bet on myself in that moment and because I found a mentor that I genuinely admired and respected and was willing to learn from. Now, here's the key about finding a mentor. You don't actually have to find somebody who's willing to sit down and teach you step by step what to do or how to accomplish the goals that you have. Okay. When I found E.T., he never, to this day, we've been working together for over almost 5 years now. He has never sat me down and said, Brandon, here's how you create a keynote speech. Here's how you command an audience. Here's how you do this. Here's how you storytell. Here's how you do that. It's never happened. But I've been close to him and I've learned through observation. When you get around somebody who is genuinely great at a skill set, you're going to learn almost by osmosis. Like people make fun of that. They're like, oh, what? Are you going to learn by osmosis? Yeah. Yeah, you are. And by the way, this doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in person that even knows who you are. You could go follow, if you want to be a speaker, you could go follow ET on Instagram right now, on YouTube right now, consume all of his content and start to understand, oh, here's the way that he does his cadence. Here's how he projects his voice. Here's how he does this. Here's how he does that. And this goes for any skill. Okay. If you want to build a business, go look at Alex Ramosi. What's he doing with his content? How does he post on social media? How does he do his editing? right? No matter what skill it is that you want to learn, there's somebody out there that has mastered it and you can learn from them. I still remember when I was at Michigan, I was cut from the team 4 years in a row, and I was the program manager, which meant I got to stay close to the team, but I wasn't an athlete. I was kind of the odds and ends guy. I was the whatever they needed done, I was the one that did that. And this was before I started coaching. And I was making $100 a week working for the same team that I was cut from. One of my jobs was to go out into the parking lot, gravel parking lot, big parking lot, and take a metal detector. And because one guy popped his freaking tire on a rusty nail, my job was then to go find every rusty nail that had been deposited in that gravel parking lot in the last 60-something years. So I go with this little metal detector, row by row, like a foot at a time, through this massive parking lot, sweeping for nails, sharp objects, etc. And I distinctly remember while I was doing this, I had my headphones in because it took me days. I had my headphones in and I was listening to every Les Brown audiobook I could get my hands on, every Zig Ziglar tape that I could find, every Earl Nightingale tape that I could find, every Eric Thomas YouTube video that I could find. And again, I didn't even know that I wanted to be a speaker at this point, but I knew that I wanted to personally develop myself and learn about that industry. I figured I would do coaching, not actual speaking. And so I was just consuming all of this information. What I didn't realize at the time was that those people I was listening to were really mentoring me. I was learning speaking cadence. I was learning projection. I was learning storytelling. And I was learning the principles of personal development along the way. And I was taking it, applying it to my own life, my own experiences, my own perspectives, my own stories. And subconsciously, I was creating my content as a speaker because I was being mentored by all of these other people. So for you, find whatever it is that you want to get good at, or find whatever it is that you want to overcome. I kicked this video off by saying I couldn't speak to hardly 3 people at a time because I had so much social anxiety. Now I speak on stages in front of thousands. The way I was able to overcome that was to find a mentor who was already overcome it. They were already phenomenal at the skill set, and I was learning from them, not because they were teaching me necessarily, but because I was learning through observation and through exposure. Okay, exposure is so critical because exposure elevates your expectations of what you're capable of and what you expect of yourself. So that's number one, find a mentor. Number two, I took massive, uncomfortable, unprepared action. I'm going to say that one more time. I took massive, uncomfortable, unprepared action. I still remember the first true motivational speech that I gave. I'd done a couple of little things with like small groups of 4 or 5 kids before, but the first real motivational speech I gave was in front of about 300 people in Atlanta, and Eric Thomas was the person who handed me the microphone. Imagine this, right? Kid who's so scared that when he was 16 years old, he couldn't even order off of a menu at a restaurant by himself because he had so much social anxiety. And the greatest motivational speaker to ever freaking do it hands you a microphone, no slides, 15, 20 minutes, you and a microphone by yourself, go. And I had about a 24-hour heads up that this was actually going to happen. Not a lot of prep, certainly an uncomfortable situation for me. I was scared out of my mind. But you know what? I lived through it. Was it the best speech I've ever given? No. Did I die? No. Did I learn from it? Yes. Did I get better because of it? Yes. Did it make me realize that if I worked towards this, I could improve and it wasn't this impossible enemy to face? Yes. Take action. You ever heard that analogy before of, you're driving in a car and the headlights are bright enough where maybe you can see 200 feet in front of you? If you sat there in your car, parked, trying to say, man, when I can see 300 feet in front of me, then I'm going to put it in drive and go, you'd never go anywhere. You would never move. The headlights can only see so far ahead of you. But what happens is, if you can see 200 feet ahead of you and you drive 100 feet, now all of a sudden you can see 300 feet total because it's moving as you move, right? A similar analogy. You get in a boat and it's completely still in the water and you turn the, what's it called? Rudder? I think that's what it's called. You turn the steering wheel of the boat, okay? I'm not a yachter yet. I'm working on it. I'll make a little bit more money first, then I'll buy a yacht. But if you're sitting there, you can steer the thing as much as you want. It's not going to go anywhere. A boat has to be moving for that correction to ever take place. My point here is this. Take the action, especially while you're young, because people will forgive your mistakes. You 47, 2 kids, and a pension, ain't nobody really forgiving your mistakes like that. You need to know what you're doing. You're 19 years old. You're 22 years old. You're 28. You're 30. People will forgive you if you don't know what you're doing. They will commend you for taking the action and trying and putting yourself out there. You can always grow, learn, and improve as you go. You can never grow, learn, and improve by sitting there and thinking about it and dwelling on it and thinking about how much it sucks, how much you probably suck, how terrible this is going to be, how hard it's going to be for you to overcome this. You're not going to intellectualize your way through a barrier. Okay, you're going to have to take action to overcome it. So that's the second thing I did, was I took uncomfortable, unprepared, massive action. The third thing that I did is, then after I started taking action, then I studied technique and I got coaching. Okay. After I had already started on my own path, I went to experts in the field and said, hey, I want to get better. I want to improve. I still do this today, by the way. I want to get better and I want to improve. What can I do? And because I was coachable, it allowed me to find little pockets of growth. At a certain point, like going from 0 to 1 is the hard part. Going from panic attacks in front of a few people to being able to speak in front of anybody at all, that's the hard part, okay? Once you get there, it's just these little incremental, like 1% adjustments. You're never even going to find those if you don't seek out expert advice and expert coaching, okay? Now, here's the kicker on all of this, because I opened this video up again by saying, how does everyday means everyday help you do this? All of these things were things that I was doing daily, not occasionally. It's not enough to consume content from a mentor occasionally. It's not enough to seek coaching occasionally. It's not enough to put yourself in uncomfortable situations occasionally. If you really want to grow past whatever that thing is that you wrote down earlier on in this video, it's going to take daily intention and daily effort. It's just the only way that you're going to be able to break through that barrier. It does take a lot of work, but it doesn't take a lot of work at one time. It's not like you have to spend 80 hours a week on it one time. You might spend 5 minutes a day on it. But over the course of a year, 2 years, 3 years, slowly but surely, you will become more mentally disciplined. You will become able to believe in yourself more. You will start to have more confidence. You will start to have less insecurity. And at the end of the day, you're just going to become the person who is capable of overcoming whatever that thing is. That's the thing that always gets me. People say, well, what's the formula? What's the blueprint? What do I need to do to overcome whatever it is? Lack of discipline. Overcome the physical body that I don't like. I want to get in shape. How do I overcome anxiety? How do I overcome depression? How do I overcome financial lack? I want to make more money. It's not the thing that you have to overcome. It's the person that you need to become, so that in comparison, that thing that you're trying to overcome just shrinks. Like when you become the right person, when you become more, when you become greater, when you start to exercise your potential and live up to the capacity that God gave you, all of a sudden, all this other stuff you were worried about, you're going to look at it like, oh, that's not bad. I can overcome that. That's not a big deal. But it starts with you growing, with you becoming more. And that is something that you have to work on daily, not occasionally. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and go check out everydaymeanseveryday.com. We have an app that's out now. It is a beautiful, beautiful system for people who want to develop themselves personally, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's going to help you get your habits in check. It's going to help you get your body, your workout routine in check. It's going to give you a community. It's going to give you education on high performance mindset. Going to give you educational courses on fitness, nutrition, everything you could possibly imagine. It's kind of like 75 hard, but way, way better. More education, more tech enabled, all the good stuff. Everydaymeanseveryday.com. Check it out. And until then, I will see you on the next video. Peace.